actually collect masks. So I brought some masks to show you guys because that's what we're starting today. We're talking about masks. Okay, so here are my masks. Okay. You guys want to guess where they're from? Guess where it's from. Ooh, close. This is New Zealand, right, Jenna? New Zealand. Jenna brought this back for me. She brought us most of these masks because she's actually traveled the world. Okay, so New Zealand. Ooh, this one is super light. You're close. Peru, right? Peru. Okay. Yep. Okay, this one is just... Are you just going to guess Hawaii every time? New Orleans, yes. New Orleans, yep. Okay. How about this one? Yes. This one is from Uganda, right? Yeah. Uganda. Okay. This is from Venice. Or Florence. Florence, Italy. Yeah. Florence has like there's a whole thing about masks in Florence. So there's all these street vendors who just sell masks. And actually this one is really cool because it has like the Rialto Bridge like painted on it. It's pretty cool. Okay, a couple more.
Africa.
Is this Malaysia? Malaysia.
Where's Malaysia?
It's so light, you guys. It's made out of balsa wood. Okay, two more. This one is from Haiti. This is from the trip I told you about where Zach got food poisoning because he ate raw beef in Haiti on that trip. Yeah, he's sad. Okay, how about this one? Alaska. Okay, isn't that cool? This is actually animal skin. It's actually made out of like seal or something. Yeah, it's super cool. Okay, so those are my masks. And we're talking about masks today, so I just wanted to show you that. And I just wanted to talk about like the kinds of masks that we see all the time and the types of masks that people use for different things. So I was thinking about who wears a mask and when you might see somebody wearing one. So I thought, okay, hunters wear a mask because they want to blend in when they're hunting for camo. Athletes might wear a mask for football, softball, something like that to protect their bodies. Actors might wear a mask, especially if it's like a theater and they want to play multiple different roles. They can put one mask on and be somebody, and then they can put on a different mask, be a different character in the same play. So those are kind of practical reasons that people wear masks. But as I was thinking about that, I thought we wear masks kind of figuratively for the same reasons as even just those three. Just like the hunters will put on a mask because we want to blend in with the people around us. We'll put up a barrier, like the athletes, to keep us from getting hurt. We'll put on a mask to be popular or just to be like somebody else, just like an actor will. So we do that all the time. We actually wear masks all the time. And I kind of have an international theme going. So the Tim Tam Slam that we just did with the chocolate, that's an Australian thing. The cookies are from Australia. We learned about that from when Jenna was in New Zealand. So that's a tradition there. So that made me think of this other story that I have told some of you. That's one of the examples I think of all the time of somebody putting on a mask. And it was when I transferred to ACU for college. And we had this welcome week because everybody was new, but they were also like halfway through college. So we had this whole week. Everybody's coming from all different states to get used to it. And this one guy the whole week has an Australian accent. And he's Australian everywhere all the time. And then suddenly we get to the end of the week and it's like he slips and he starts just talking like a normal person. And everybody who thought he was from Australia all this time, turns out he's from Lubbock, Texas. You know. Well, an American accent. And so it just like, then everybody was giving him a hard time, like, man, why were you trying to fake everybody out? Why were you trying to pretend like you had this accent that you don't even have? Like, that's so weird. And it totally changed, even though I would see that guy around campus for the rest of the time that I was there. And every time I was there, I saw him just like walking across campus, I was like, oh, there's fake Aussie guy, because he did that. And it like really became like a thing about him that people would remember that he did that, even though it was just like such a short time and it was really harmless. But he kind of said that kind of set the tone that like this guy's kind of fake, and sometimes we set up a kind of fake persona. And so today I just want to talk about somebody who does this in the Bible. And maybe you guys know the story. It's the story of Jacob and Esau, the brothers. And so just to remind you like where we're at in the Bible, Abraham, who I think everybody knows who Abraham is, he gets promised that he's going to have all these sons, and then it's actually a really long time and he doesn't have any. And they try to kind of start like figuring out how they can do that on their own. And then God's like, no, I promised you will have a son, and he eventually does, and it's Isaac. Then God tests him even more, and he says, would you be willing to even sacrifice this son that you waited all this time for up on a mountain? And so Abraham goes up and he like almost sacrifices him. And then God's like, wait, I just wanted to know that you trust me. So that's Isaac. So then Isaac has two sons and they're twins, and it's Esau and Jacob. So the way that it works in the Old Testament is your birthright, your inheritance, kind of everything that gets passed on went through the oldest son. So that would be Esau. So the Bible tells us about these two different brothers, and Esau is, kind of this like really, they give it an impression that he's like this really rough, tough, like, hunter guy. He loves hunting meat, and he's really hairy. And then it talks about Jacob, and it's like he kind of liked to stay home and maybe cook, and he wasn't hairy at all, and he liked gardening, And so it's sort of this big difference between these two guys. So the dad, Isaac, really likes Esau. He just feels like he has more in common, feels like that's what he wanted in a son. The mom really favors Jacob. They're just really different. So the story goes that Isaac is getting old, and he decides that it's time to pass this blessing on to Esau. So he tells him, go out, hunt me some great meat, make me a nice dish, and then I'm going to give you this blessing. So Rebecca, the mom, hears about that, and she's like, Jacob, this is your chance. Go kill a goat. I'll make it up really great, and then we'll get him. He can't see very well. We'll get Dad to give you the blessing instead of Esau. And Jacob already kind of has a lot of questions about that. He's like, that is not going to work. Like, I don't look anything like Esau. I'm nothing like him. Dad is never going to believe that. And I think he already has a lot of questions, and he probably has a lot of questions that a lot of us have. I think he feels like he and his brother couldn't be any more different. I think he feels like he maybe hasn't measured up ever to what his dad wanted him to be. And I think maybe he's kind of jealous of Esau. And sometimes when we see somebody who's doing something that's different than us, or that it seems like someone else favors more, it's hard not to be jealous that it's going so well for them, and that's just not us. So my first question for you guys is, okay, have you ever felt like Jacob? Like you were never going to measure up to the expectations of someone that you care about? Whether it's a parent or a coach or a peer, have you guys ever had that feeling? So I think when I think about this, for us, like kind of the mask of our time is social media. It's the easiest thing to just put on to hide what we really are, to pretend to be someone else. And maybe we do this, other people do this for sure all the time. So who has Be Real? Has anybody ever had the app Be Real? Okay. Okay, so Tammy, tell me, what is Be Real and how does it work?
So you get a notification at a random point in the day, and you take a photo from your front-facing camera and your back-facing camera, basically at the exact same time. And it's no filter, no caption, no nothing. All it is just you and what you're doing.
Yeah, because the idea is you also have like a really short amount of time to do it,
Yeah,
right?
we have,
You
like,
get 1 minute or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea that they had behind Be Real is that like it's easy if you want to fake your life, you want to fake your photos, like you can spend a lot of time like kind of curating this perfect picture of your life, of what you're doing, of how you look or how your room looks or what your project looks like, whatever. You could spend a lot of time and eventually make it look perfect. But isn't it more real? Like that's the point behind it, right? Is if you don't have a lot of time, you can't like curate it and make it pretty. It just is what it is. So the idea behind Be Real is it's a lot more real to get both perspectives, like you said, of what you can see, what the camera sees, at the same time in a short amount of time. Okay, but even this is kind of just a funny example of somebody who's even taken that and been able to try to kind of fake it. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Zach King. He does a lot of illusions. So here's one. So this is what he looks like when Be Real goes off. Okay, he's just like sitting in his house. But then he puts together, he gets all his friends to help him like be ready for this elaborate prank so that the picture he sends is this. Okay, so here's how he does it. Oh, sound.
Guys,
So he's like, Be Real's going off. Okay, so 17 seconds from that first picture on the couch to like, looks like he's on the beach, he's having fun. With the help of his friends, like he's able to do that in 17 seconds. And that was like not his reality at all. So this is sort of a joke about how like you could still really make anything look like it's true when it's not. So that's what Jacob does. Like he puts on his mom's like, I got you. We're gonna put on like this a goat hair or like a hairy like fur pelt basically because Esau was so hairy, and put on some of your brother's clothes so you smell like him. All this stuff. So he goes in and he steals the blessing. And Isaac even asks. He's like, this sounds like Jacob. Are you sure you're not Jacob? And he's like, no, I'm Esau. And so they go through the whole thing and he steals it. And in Jacob's case, you know, just like in the problem with social media, it's so temporary. And so it's literally minutes from the time that he's gotten this blessing from Isaac to he kind of runs away and Esau walks in the door and then like everything falls apart. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of Genesis 27:30 through 35. It says, after Isaac finished blessing him and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, my father, please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. And his father Isaac asked him, who are you? I'm your son, he answered, your firstborn, Esau. Isaac trembled violently and said, well, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it before you came and blessed him? And indeed, he will be blessed. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, bless me too, my father. But he said, your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. So it's interesting because Jacob's name even means deception, and that's totally like what he fulfills it to be. And Esau is so mad. Like, okay, so I would just want to do something where it says he bursts out with a loud and bitter cry. So I think we just need, like, that moment, we just need to feel what Esau was feeling when it's like, when you arrive like barely too late and the gate is closed or the last ticket is sold or you didn't get that thing in before, you know, the midnight timeline when it was due. Like, what is that feeling like? So I think like everybody needs to give out their loudest, like, no, when you realize like it's too late and you missed the deadline. Okay. So like your loudest scream of like, I can't believe this is happening to me. Okay. Can we do it? You can do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. No! Okay. So that's how Esau feels. I bet you guys have felt that feeling. If you're a senior and you haven't felt that feeling yet, you will.
It's coming.
It is coming, right? That's your entire college.
I bet I forget my homework. I have to study one, but I don't get to come here.
Yes, exactly. It's a terrible feeling. So anyway, Esau is so mad, he actually vows to kill Jacob. So their mom is like, yeah, you got to leave. You have to get out of here. And Jacob has to flee the country to go and live with his uncle for decades. He does not see Esau for decades. And for decades, he's afraid of him and like worried about what will ever happen when he sees Esau. And he does eventually see him. There's a whole thing. But I just, like, when we're thinking about Jacob here, we can ruin our reputation and our relationships by falsely representing ourselves for just a couple of minutes of content or a handful of likes in our, in our social media era. That's all it takes. In a few minutes, one post or one picture or something, you can ruin your reputation and your relationships. Because if it's a lie, if it's fake, it really hurts your relationship with other people when they find out, and they do. With Jacob, it's only a few minutes before his brother comes in and everything falls apart. But other times, like sometimes we get away with it for a while, and that is kind of tempting to sort of keep doing it. If we don't get caught, it feels like it's working. But Jesus actually talks about this in Luke 12. He's talking to his disciples about exactly this. So I just want to share this verse with you guys. Okay. So he says, I'm just going to read it from here. But Jesus' primary concern was his disciples. He said to them, watch yourselves carefully so you don't get contaminated with Pharisee phoniness. You can't keep your true self hidden forever. Before long, you'll be exposed. You can't hide behind a religious mask forever. Sooner or later, the mask will slip and your true face will be known. You can't whisper one thing in private and preach the opposite in public. The day is coming when those whispers will be repeated all over town. So I don't know about you guys, but at least when I was in high school and even middle school, when somebody starts a rumor or somebody finds something out, that spreads pretty quickly, especially when it's actually true. And so, when we're being fake and then we get found out, it really changes the way that people think about us. Like, think about this, fake Australian guy from college. I thought about that every time I saw him. And I'm sure he was a nice guy. And I'm sure, things went on and the people who knew him really well never, maybe they never thought about that. But I did, because it was my only interaction with him. And so just like when you're in school and your peers can see you, if they, see you portraying one thing at school and then you're different in your neighborhood or on your team or at church or wherever they see you somewhere else, it'll give them the impression that maybe you're just not very real. And if you're not very real, you're not very trustworthy. And if people can't trust who we are, they're definitely not going to trust what we believe. And so, if you're somebody that's trying to follow after Jesus, my challenge to you is kind of that, your reputation is not just your reputation, it's also your testimony. It's your opportunity to say that you care about what's true. And so if you want to have any inroads with anybody, if your faith matters to you, then, you have to be real about who you are. So, yes, my challenge is, rather than putting on something that's fake, putting on a mask, what if we are willing to take off our masks or not put them on at all in the first place and just be real and be the same everywhere we are? You don't need the app if you don't have the Be Real app. You don't need a social media account. You don't need a phone. You don't need anything to be real and not be making up who you are. I think my last challenge for you guys is that the reason that we come here is not just because we all believe in Jesus, but it's because we need some people around us to help us be real. We need some accountability. And that's why we have small groups. And that's why we have small group leaders to just kind of help hold us accountable. But that only works if you're willing to be vulnerable. If you're willing to say, I'm kind of struggling with this, or, I think I made a mistake, or I just need some help with this or that. If you can say that to the people in your small group, they can help you with it. But you have to be, vulnerable. And then as a small group member, if someone is saying that to you, you have to be willing to just kind of really kindly and gently walk alongside them. But you also have to be brave and sometimes be like, well, does that sound like something that Jesus would do? You know, like we have to be able to kindly challenge each other about what we're doing or what we're saying. And that's like the great part about being a family of faith, is that we get to speak that into each other's lives. So my challenge is, like, in your small groups, it's great to have discussions. It's great to just, check in with each other and see how it's going. But like my challenge is to let this be something more than that. The people that you can really trust, who care about you, care about what you believe. So I'm going to pray, and then we've got some discussion questions for our small groups. Okay, let's pray. God, thanks for tonight. Thanks for all these students and just their willingness to follow you and to want something real. Just pray that you would help them to follow after truth and to be there for each other, to support one another, and just to just keep running hard after you. In your name, amen.